And good morning again. Right, before I forget, if you'd like a question sheet, which I hope is helpful both by way of following through the different proverbs that we're in and particularly thinking about application, Joel will be handing those around. So do wave your hand if you'd like one of those. And while they're coming round, so we're in Proverbs, as we've said, and thinking about friendship. So while those are coming round, just in 30 seconds of silence, and I'm not going to ask for responses to this is for your own mind, but when I say friendship, and when you think friends, what, apart from a theme tune and a television program, what comes to mind to you? Maybe what emotions, what memories, what contexts in terms of friendships? Does anything come to mind culturally? Maybe people come to mind for whom you're hugely grateful. People come to mind where there's sadness and regret. I wonder what sorts of things come into your head. Incidentally, when you put friends into Google, the first thing that does come up for about 1,000 images is the television program, but that's my only reference to it. I did just wonder this morning. What comes to your mind when you think friends and friendship? I hope for many there might be real thankfulness, real joy and happiness, even as you think about specific individuals in this room this morning. But a bit like if we were thinking about parents, or marriage, or children, or other aspects of life, there will be mixed emotions in this room. So as we start thinking about friendship, I'm really aware that for some, it might be feelings of great sadness, loneliness, regret, loss. Maybe instead of joy, you feel jealousy because others have the friends that you don't have. A whole load of different emotions, I suspect. And I want to acknowledge that as we start. What we're going to be diving into today in these Proverbs is both measures of things that can help us measure or mark friendship in a sense, but also things that we should be aiming for as friends. So I think these Proverbs both help us to assess our friendships and how we are as friends, but also help us to think, how can I be the friend that Jesus would want me to be? How can I live? What should I be aiming to be like as a friend? I wonder, who are your friends? If I say friends, who immediately comes to mind? Again, rhetorically in your own mind. Who are you grateful for? Who are the people in your life, both recently and in the past, who you really count as friends? Friends who you can trust, friends who you rely on, friends who you know are there for you. One of the things I've really enjoyed this week as I've been preparing this is thinking about some friends. I've spoken to some of you in this room and some others not in this room, and specifically say I really appreciate and value your friendship. Thank you. Just because I haven't spoken to you doesn't mean I don't really appreciate yours as well. But it's been really helpful for me actually reflecting on the people that God gives us in our lives. And again, I hope there's real happiness for you in that as well. I wonder, where do you feel you work hard on friendship? Do you work hard on friendships? My experience is that there are periods of time, we were talking about this over breakfast this morning, Holly put it beautifully, that friendship goes in waves. Now, I suspect particularly the younger ones of you in the room, those under 20, 25, whatever, friendships change a lot when you are going through a lot of life changes. So we were talking about the fact that when you're at primary school, you have probably this really big group of friends, maybe the whole class, and you have a party, and the whole class come round, and it's chaos, because you've got 30 coming round for a party, and there's cake everywhere, and it's carnage. But they're all friends in one sense, and yet you don't really have deep friendships with any of them, but then you might get a special friend, or 2 or 3 special, best friends. But then you go to secondary school, and maybe they come with you, maybe they don't, your interests change, they get more into this, you get more into that, and suddenly, it's been the case for our kids, you're not in touch with anyone that you were in primary school with. Or maybe you still are. My brother, his 4 closest friends are guys that we grew up with. I'm in touch with none of my friends, basically, from my childhood. I don't think that makes him a better person or a better friend than me, maybe. But I've landed in one place. I've lived in less than nearly 30 years. He's traveled all over the world, and it's been quite a different experience. But I think, and we're going to see here, that friendships, to cultivate real friendships, takes effort, like cultivating any relationship or anything. You want to grow a nice plant, you have to cultivate it. It takes effort, it takes work, and so with friendships. I wonder, where are your friends? physically in a sense, but also in terms of their different social circles. They might be at school, they might be at work, they might be in the different clubs and activities and hobbies that you have, they might be your neighbours. I very much hope that some of them at least are at church. But they might also be on the online world, I think. Maybe if you think about how many friends do you have? Well, how do we measure that? Those of you above a certain age, do we go on Facebook and see how many friends? I've got 500 friends. Really? I'm not sure that's the measure of friendship. Or maybe do we obsess with how many likes we get when we post something on Instagram? Or we obsess with how many likes we don't get when we post something on Instagram, and that tells us whether our friendships are in good state or not. They got more likes than me, why am I not? And suddenly we're jealous rather than joyful. And I think the culture that we're in is really interesting, the culture that you young people particularly growing up in, but we're all in it. Does it value friendship? I think in some ways it does. But I think what I also notice is that we live in I guess the term is a cancel culture, don't we? We live in quite a throwaway culture when it comes to relationships. Again, we had a conversation about this over breakfast, because I observed that we're told if someone is harmful to you, if someone says or believes or thinks something that you don't agree with, cut them out of your life. Literally turn away and walk away from them because they're toxic. Well, maybe they are. And we're going to see that we need to be really wise about the friends that we choose. But we can also know for sure that in this culture, if we have Christian attitudes towards people, if we are loving, and if we are forgiving, and if we are loyal, I think that's going to stand out more in this culture than in many over the years. And that points people not to us as friends, but to Jesus, the greatest of all friends. Because as we go through this today, I want to think at two levels. In one sense, we're going to be focusing on us and human relationships, but at a deeper level as well, all of this about friendships points to the one perfect friend who does all things perfectly that we will mess up. Because here's the short news: we're going to let each other down, and you're going to let me down. I'm going to let you down, you're going to let me. That is life, isn't it? Because none of us is perfect, and perfection in this life is not the aim. But we follow one who is perfect. And we're going to look at that verse later. Greater love has no one than this, than lays down his life for his friends. And that is what you are. If you're here this morning and you're in Jesus, you're a Christian, you follow Jesus, no matter how sort of frail that faith feels this morning, then Jesus calls you his friend. And in a sense, I think as we say that word in our culture, that feels too weak, because we use friendship quite lightly maybe. But he calls you his friend. He brings you into his inner circle, just as he brought his disciples in to his inner circle. And maybe you need to hear nothing else this morning apart from that, because actually you aren't sure that Jesus calls you his friend. Maybe you know currently he wouldn't. Maybe you know currently you're not yet trusting this Jesus. Well, listen to nothing else other than Jesus calls you to be one of his people, one of his friends. To quote that verse I used earlier on, how great is the love the Father has lavished on us that we should be called children of God. God loves you with an unstopping, unending love and wants you as his. If that's not yet you, you don't need to leave this room today with that being the case. That can be changed today. So, let's dive into friendship from Proverbs. There are 4 things specifically that we're going to look at. The first is this: choose your friends wisely, they rub off on you. The second is this. What we're going to look at, the second and third, both fall under what I'm going to call, they're both marks of or measures of friendship, but also what can be our aims with God's help as friends and in friendship. Firstly, be loving and loyal. And then secondly, we're going to see be humble and honest. So characteristics for us as friends and things that we can use to, if you like, assess our friendships. And then we're going to finish briefly by saying that we can trust and follow the one perfect friend. So that's where we're going. We're going to dive through different Proverbs as we go. So we'll have all of those up on the screen as we go, but feel free obviously to find them in the Bible as well. So, firstly, choose your friends wisely, they rub off on you. Let's have some Proverbs here. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Proverbs 12:26. The nature of Proverbs is that these are sort of dotted and darted all over the place, which is why we've not had one Bible reading this morning, but why we're pulling thematically from a number of different ones. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Chapter 13, verse 20. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. And our third and final one in this little section. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn their ways and get yourself ensnared. What's the point? The people that we spend time with shape who we are. The people we spend time with shapes who we become. The point also is therefore that we should be people who positively help shape others. I want us to, in all of these cases, look at these as what should I look for in a friend and what's a mark of friendship, but also who should I be as a friend? The people we spend time with shape us, so we should be people who positively, in God's image, toward the gospel and gospel truths, help shape others. So, choose your friends wisely, they rub off on you. Seems to me an obvious question straight away. Does that mean I should only have friends who are Christians? Because anyone who's not a Christian is going to have a negative effect on me. No, it doesn't mean that. But what it does, well, because, why not? Well, we're on a mission, aren't we? Yes, we're to have friends, absolutely, who are Christians, more of that to come. But we want to reach out with this wonderful news of this amazing friend, Jesus, to those who don't yet know him. So, one of the most powerful ways we'll be able to do that, you might stand on a street corner and preach to strangers, and that can have its effect. But if we are friends with, if we genuinely get to know and share life and rub shoulders with people who don't yet know Jesus, they're going to see those truths in us that we point to Jesus, that show us to be something different and ultimately show him to be something completely different. Genuine friendship will often be, I'm sure if we heard testimonies from across this room, where it's not family, it's been friends who have brought us into Christian things and ultimately to find faith in Jesus. Jesus himself spent all sorts of time with all sorts of people. We know from him and his example that we absolutely should spend time with and be friends with those who are not Christians. But we are to be wise. Choose your friends wisely. Our walk with Jesus is more important than our walk with any friend. And the point really is, therefore, don't be a fool and think that you won't be affected by others. I've got lots of non-Christian friends, lots of non-Christian acquaintances, but some really quite close friends. If they said to me, Pete, we're going to a strip club tonight, do you want to come? It would be completely foolish of me to go, yes, of course I will, because I think this is a gospel opportunity. Don't be a fool. I mean, what sort of gospel witness would that be anyway? But it's going to lead me astray. But I might trick myself into thinking, yes, of course, I'm going to go and I'm just going to think of Jesus. Another friend says, Pete, we're going out in the night, going out in the town tonight, we're going to have 10 pints. You want to come? Yes, of course I do. Well, maybe I do for a short period of time, but actually I'm going to have one drink with them or whatever it might be, and I'm going to come on. Some in the room will do that. Some will go, I'm not going to drink at all. Some will go, I'm not going to go at all. Each of those decisions is fine. What is not fine is to go, yeah, I'm in, I'm all in. Let's have the 10 pints and go to the strip club. That sounds amazing. Because I'm being a Christian friend to this non-Christian who needs Jesus. Don't be a fool. The way of the wicked leads to wickedness. Be careful who you spend your time with, because our friends rub off on us. Those of you in this room who are single, if you think, I'd love a boyfriend or a girlfriend at some point in the future, maybe you think, probably doesn't matter if that's a Christian or not. Now, I'm not saying that all non-Christian potential boyfriends or girlfriends are wicked, but why would you why would you get into the closest relationship that you might seek to pursue with someone who doesn't share your deepest values? Young people in this room, do not be foolish and pursue relationships with a non-Christian as a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Be careful who you choose as your friend, as your closest friend, because the way of the wicked will lead us astray. What about our online lives? Those lives that we don't see, the friends that perhaps others in this room, even your parents, don't know about. Well, there are plenty of people who can make really good connections online. I know people might be gaming and talking to people and so on. It's not my world, but it can be a world that can work for you as part of your friendships. I'd strongly encourage you to have friends in the physical world, people who you really, really know and are real. There are plenty of people out there who will seek to befriend you, but do not have your best interests at heart. There will be people who want to deceive, who want to pretend that they are someone that they are not, and who will want to lead you astray into all sorts of things. Be wise. There are individuals and groups that we could spend time with that just become echo chambers for the things that we currently think, and we find more and more people who think what we think and reinforce how wonderful our views are and never challenge us. And if they do, we kick them out because we live in a world where we think they might be toxic. Be careful who you spend time just bouncing familiar ideas around with. The people that we spend time with in the physical world and in the online world rub off on us. Parents in this room, let us not be foolish that if our kids are not out drinking, they are safe in their room because they're on their phones for 8 hours a night. I was in a school recently on a Monday morning. I saw these two kids I was chatting to. They're, I said, why are you so tired? Oh, I couldn't sleep last night. Really? And what time did you go to bed? Oh, I just couldn't get to sleep. About 2 in the morning. I said, how many hours did you spend on your phone yesterday? Got it out. 12 and a half hours average screen time, one of them. The other was 11. They stopped at 1 or 2 in the morning. Oh, I couldn't sleep. I wonder why. That's harmful. But it is true when we say that there's a great danger that we overprotect our children in the physical world and we massively underprotect them in the online world. We are foolish if we think that the people out there who our children are spending time with when they're on their phones aren't potentially causing harm. Let me move up from just talking about children. That's to parents. Children, that's the same for you. I hope you hear that. Adults, it's the same for us. We can spend time, can't we, thinking, yeah, I'm in good company here. And suddenly these habits creep up. The things that we're modeling to our children, the things that we're modeling to each other are actually taking us away from Jesus. We need to choose our friends wisely because they rub off on us. There's loads more I could say. What this doesn't mean is that we should only spend time with people who are really similar to us. I think there is a danger that we could just go, oh, so I should be friends with people I find it easy to be friends with. People who are strong, mature Christians, just like me, or whatever it might be. No, we all know that there are people around us, people in this church, who are more or less able to give and to receive giving and so on at different times. We need to be people who will care for one another. We need, if I can put it this way, to have unequal friendships. We go through periods of time where someone in the friendship is the one who can be stable and solid and caring and supportive. And another person is much more in need of comfort and encouragement and prayer and help. That's as it should be. Those are wonderful things in a church, as is cross-generational friendship. Again, one of the things I was thinking about as I was preparing this week was the brilliant situations that our children particularly enjoyed, where it's often people maybe half a generation above, but a generation above as well. I want to thank those a generation below me or whatever it is, who have given up their time and made effort to connect with my kids over the years and be a role model to them, not of a perfect Christian, but of a Christian a bit older than them, who's not an old fuddy-duddy like their dad, but actually can show them what it means to live as a Christian young man or woman. And I want to really encourage you in this room, if you're not serving in different ways, getting alongside young people, or those of you who are about to go off to university, is there an opportunity then even to get plugged in, get supported by a mentor a bit older than you, get involved as soon as you can, looking after and getting involved in youth work, looking after kids and helping be a role model to them as well. I was thinking of some of you young people. I know you've been going off rock climbing recently to that indoor centre, haven't you? Maybe this analogy works for you. If you're climbing indoors and you've got nice soft mats for you, you can go up a route and you can fall off and it doesn't matter because you're falling onto soft mats. If you're outdoors and you're 300 meters up a cliff face, you want to make sure that you're following someone who's not a fool. You want to make sure that you're following someone who's got some experience, who's got your best interests at heart, who knows how to secure a rope both to you and to that rock face. Choose your friends wisely because they rub off on you. You'll see the connection. I better press on. I was told I could go on for ages because the kids went out late, so I'm just going to keep you. Oh, no, I'll try not to. Right, be loving and loyal. Let's have some Proverbs. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Two things I want to highlight there. First of all, love. A friend loves. Friendship is to be a deep, loving, other person-centered relationship. That takes with it deliberateness, doesn't it? Self-sacrificial nature of friendship. It is something to be developed. It takes effort. A friend loves. On a Tuesday, over a coffee, if it's not too inconvenient. No, a friend loves at all times. No matter what. It's not about the friend. It's not about me and what I get out of this. It's this friend is in need. A friend loves at all times. We all have limited capacity, of course. We can't always be there for everyone all the time. But a friend loves even when that friend is in difficulty. Especially, perhaps, when that friend is in difficulty. Contrast that with this. An unfriendly person pursues selfish ends and against all sound judgment starts quarrels. A friend loves. A friend is other person-centered. An unfriendly person is self-centered, self-oriented. What's in it for me? I'm going to go around bigging me up rather than helping someone else. This is someone argumentative, someone who's looking to stir things up and score points, to win and knock down rather than to understand and support and build up. Our next proverb: whoever would foster love covers over an offense, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. I used the word cultivate earlier on. Foster has that same idea. You've got to foster something, you care for it, you nurture it, you build it, you grow it. It takes effort. Whoever would foster love, we have to work on it. It takes care, time, attention, effort. If you have love, what happens? We cover over offenses. Christian brothers and sisters, friendship, friends, forgive. A friend and a Christian does not hold on to resentment and bitterness and look to have arguments and win. Love covers over an offense. Friendship forgives. See how Paul puts this in his letter to the Colossians. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive, not as we feel fit or as we feel able or as they deserve, but forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Whoever would foster love covers over an offense. A friend loves at all times. We are to forgive as we have been forgiven. In contrast, someone else separates close friends. They don't let things go. They repeat things. They dwell on things. They fester. They become bitter. And the consequence? Friendships end. They break. And we see more of that here. A perverse person stirs up conflict, and a gossip separates close friends. A perverse person stirs up conflict, and a gossip separates close friends. Gossip. The ESV has it as a whisperer. I think that's really powerful, isn't it? Somebody goes around whispering, have you heard about so-and-so? Did you hear what they did? And of course, what I did was perfect, but what they did. Gossip's interesting, isn't it? We always paint ourselves in a better light when we gossip. We're the star or the victim, but never the villain. They're the villain. Oh, but I was the wronged one. I did this, I did that. But they, whispering, talking about conspiratorial tones, going around and talking down others, building ourselves up, perhaps covering up our own inadequacies and failures, but we're building ourselves up while we're knocking them down. Repeating it to someone else rather than having the love and the courage to talk to someone, or the love to forgive as we have been forgiven. So I've had to ask myself this week, and I ask all of us, are you a gossip? Have you been a gossip? Have you been whispering behind someone's back? Perhaps even, as we're going to see in the next one, being two-faced. One thing to their face, one thing behind. Kisses to the face, and as it were, not literally, but like being all lovely and wonderful in front, but actually behind the back, doing something quite different. Is that something that we need to repent of? That should not have its place in our relationships, whether with Christian friends or with other friends. We are not to gossip. But it's so tempting, isn't it? I've been really tempted this week. I've had a tricky situation with a couple of friends in my tennis world. It's unimportant, really. But someone who said something about me that I felt was, or sort of made suggestions about a decision I'd made that I felt was unfair. It was so tempting when I was in a car journey with someone the other day to repeat the whole thing word for word and probably give it my gloss, because I'd have certainly then looked better than he would have done. Forgive as the Lord forgave you, and do not gossip. Let's look at this next one. Do not forsake your friend or a friend of your family, and do not go to your relative's house when disaster strikes you. Better a neighbor nearby than a relative far away. There's more in that we're going to get to, but the big point, I think, do not forsake your friend. Be loyal. Stick around. Friendships do change, don't they, over time? We've said that already, of course. They go in waves, as Holly put it for me really nicely. But the time to break a friendship is not when things get difficult. Oh, this friend's finding things a bit hard. They need a bit of extra care and attention. I'm not sure I want that. I'm off. That is not how we're to behave. We're to stick around, and we're to support, and we're to love. And again, as I said, in our culture, I think that's a real challenge, but I think it will really shine out as different. If we are people who love loyally and forgive royally, let me put it like that, then we will stand out as people that are different, because we are forgiving as the Lord forgave you. Instead, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. You will know that you will all be let down by other people at some point. What we might be less keen to admit is that we will all let other people down as well, won't we? We're to strive, with God's help, I believe, from these Proverbs, to be a loyal friend, a loving friend who doesn't let others down, who doesn't run away and leave them when things get difficult. But we will do that imperfectly. We're to forgive ourselves, we're to seek forgiveness from others, we are to forgive generously as we have been forgiven. And we'll come back as we finish to that other verse too. Be humble and honest. I will try and get through this a bit faster. I'm conscious of my time. Be humble and honest. Perfume and incense bring joy to the heart, and the pleasantness of a friend springs from their heartfelt advice. And then iron sharpens iron as one person sharpens another. I imagine that's quite painful if you're made of iron. You picture someone sharpening a knife with a whatever it's called, a stone or a whatever. Bang, 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 bang. That hurts if you were made of iron. But iron sharpens iron. It is good for something blunt to be made sharp. Perfume and incense bring joy to the heart, and the pleasantness of a friend springs from their heartfelt advice. Again, thank you to my friends in this room who've given me advice on different things over the years. I hope I've listened to that humbly, but thank you for your honesty. And I think what we see in these verses is that we need to listen well and humbly. Listen to advice, 19 verse 20, and accept discipline, and at the end you'll be counted among the wise. And then this one, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. We need to be humble to accept that we have not got all of life sorted. And we need to be people who will therefore listen well to others who might have the courage to speak to us about our own areas of life where we might need to be sharpened. Now, I guess in this room, some of us have had experience of that going badly. I hope some of us had an experience of it going well. I can think of times when I've tried, I thought gently to speak to someone and it's not been valued. I can think of times when people have spoken. I remember many, many years ago, my sister chatting to me and said, Pete, I just feel that you're in danger of being just a little bit critical of other people at the moment. Just wonder what's going on. It was years ago. I'm so grateful she put it that way and asked me that question. Speaking to someone doesn't mean going in all guns blazing. I think I've got another slide I just missed. Here it is. It doesn't mean going in all guns blazing, but it does mean being honest with people. Better is open rebuke than hidden love. Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. An enemy just goes, oh yeah, you're wonderful, you're wonderful. Have you heard about this person? Let me tell you, whispering about them. But actually someone who really loves us has the courage to speak to you and say, Pete, I've just noticed this in your life recently, and I just wonder if that's something to think about. Or, I heard you the other day talking about that person, and I'm sure you wouldn't want it to come across this way, but it felt quite judgmental. Or I didn't know if is that almost gossip? Coming to each of us with a humble attitude, but a courage that seeks their best interest. It's not about going, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to win the battle, I'm going to build myself up and knock you down. Absolutely not. But nor is it about gossiping in the background and staying quiet to the person. An unfriendly person pursues selfish ends. I read this earlier on. Look at the second part. Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions. I thought I had one more. Oh, I've missed it. There we go. Last one. Better is open rebuke than hidden love. Wounds from a friend can be trusted. I've read that, haven't I? Have I got that one there? Oh, I've lost the slide. All wounds are painful. All wounds are painful. It can be painful if a friend is honest enough to speak to you about something that's going on in your life. But we're to do that because of love. I wouldn't expect 50 people to be doing that to one person, but have you got someone in your life, one or two people in your life, who you know can be honest with you? Have you got someone who you would dare to be honest with because you love them enough? I remember once at work receiving a piece of feedback 6 months after something had happened in a public environment. And what went through my mind was, this person is looking to publicly assassinate me and they're looking to build themselves up. If they really cared about me, they'd have had the courage 6 months ago to come to me and say, Pete, you said this happened, I wonder what's gone on. Are we doing that? Do we keep things to ourselves? Do we gossip? Are we two-faced? Or are we loving enough to be honest and also loving enough to be humble as we do so? And let me finish with trust and follow the one perfect friend. One who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. We can aim to be brilliant friends with God's help, and I pray, can have brilliant friends, but we will all let each other down, and we will all be let down by each other. But there is one who is perfectly loving and perfectly loyal, who humbled himself to death so that we could be exalted to life. How great is the love the Father has lavished on us, I've said already, but here's another verse. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. Isn't that amazing? I don't know the state of your friendships with other people at the moment. Maybe they need attention, maybe it needs forgiveness, maybe you need God's transforming power to fix relationships and to try and put things right. As we strive with God's help to be the type of friend that he calls us to be, we can delight in the fact that we can trust and follow this Jesus, the perfect friend, the friend who will never let us down, who will never cancel us, who will never turn away from us, no matter how toxic our behavior and our attitudes. He is the most loving and most loyal friend that we could ever hope for, who calls us to build friendships in a similar way. As we have been loved, so to love. As we have been forgiven, so to forgive. But all of that points us to the fact that he is that perfect friend. Shall we pray to him? Lord Jesus, we thank you that we can call you call us your friends. Thank you for your incredible love, that you would lay down your life for us, that you humbled yourself to death and exalted us, all who trust in Jesus, to new life in you. Lord, I want to pray for anyone here this morning who isn't yet one of your friends, who wouldn't yet call themselves a Christian, who hasn't trusted in Jesus. I thank you that there is no reason no matter how toxic they feel their own life is, there's no reason this morning why they couldn't leave this room a new person in Jesus. And I pray that you would be at work in their hearts right now by your Spirit. Lord, I pray for us in our human relationships. I pray for anyone here this morning who knows, no matter how much we might want to challenge it, who knows by conviction by your Spirit that we need to repent, we need to change, that we need to restore, we need to forgive or seek forgiveness. Would you please give us the honesty and the courage to do that in your strength? I pray for anyone who's feeling bruised, battered, broken by the pain of past relationships or present. I pray that you would love and care for them, and that we as Christian brothers and sisters would be able to love and care for them well as well. Lord, would you help us be loving and loyal to one another? Help us love as you have loved us. Help us to stick as you stick with us. And would you also help us be humble and honest? Help us to listen to you and to each other. But help us too, Lord, not to be spouting our own agendas. Instead, help us always be pointing one another to Jesus. That we would be passionate about seeing gospel values, gospel priorities grow in our friends and in ourselves first and foremost. Lord, would you help our friendships to be so other to what the world would have, that it would stand out and speak of Jesus, that our friendships would point to the most wonderful friend of all. And Lord, no matter how else we're feeling in friendships this morning, I pray that we would cling to you, that we would trust and follow you day by day, knowing that you stick closer than anyone else we can think of, anyone else we could imagine. And you never let us down. You love us with an unending, always and forever love. Amen.